Joe Rogan's name immediately brings one thing to mind: questions. He has built a persona where no guest on his podcast is safe. Whether it's a politician, an actor, a scientist, or an influencer, Rogan asks the questions that everyone else is afraid to touch. His style is direct, blunt, and completely unfiltered. That's why some people love him, and others hate him. But one thing everyone agrees on: Joe Rogan never stays silent. He always responds. He always defends his stance. He always justifies his opinions. But this time, everything flipped. This time, when the question was thrown at him, Rogan froze. For the first time, there was hesitation in his eyes, a subtle shock in his expression, a pause that was unmistakably uncomfortable. The internet immediately noticed. This silence wasn't the usual thinking pause. This was the moment that became a turning point in his career. Because this time, the question wasn't about a guest. This question was about himself. The man who grills others without mercy was suddenly the one under the spotlight, and he didn't know how to respond. The man who asks uncomfortable questions had finally become uncomfortable himself. And all of this was happening live on camera for millions of fans to witness. The silence came when he was confronted about his recent Wildfire comments. Just days before, Rogan had implied on his show that there were strange things he had personally observed during wildfire events. He hinted that perhaps the government could be involved in ways the public was unaware of. The comments shocked fans, infuriated critics, and triggered a flood of conspiracy theories online. Supporters of Trump and government officials questioned his motives, accusing him of overstepping or politicizing tragedy. Then came the Trump angle. During a recent episode, Rogan indirectly suggested that Donald Trump might know things the public didn't, adding fuel to the conspiracy fire. And at that moment, everything spiraled. For years, Rogan has thrived on pushing the boundaries. He has challenged billionaires, celebrities, and world leaders. He has asked questions that make his guests squirm. He has walked into controversial territory fearlessly. But when the spotlight turned toward him, when someone asked the questions he usually throws at others, Rogan faltered. He stumbled over words, paused for longer than usual, and for a fleeting moment, the confident, unstoppable persona fans are used to seemed to vanish. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The king of questions had been cornered by his own game. The internet erupted. Clips of Rogan's silence went viral within hours. Memes were created, headlines were written, and social media platforms exploded with speculation. People began debating endlessly. Was Rogan genuinely caught off guard, or was he strategically silent to protect himself? Was he trying to cover his tracks, or was this a calculated move to maintain his public image? The situation was chaotic, and Rogan's usual dominance on the podcasting scene suddenly seemed vulnerable. What made this even more explosive was the stakes. Wildfires aren't just natural disasters, they are political, economic, and environmental issues with far-reaching consequences. The suggestion that government involvement could be hidden from the public, combined with Trump's name entering the discussion, created a perfect storm of controversy. Rogan, who often positions himself as the seeker of truth, now faced intense scrutiny for something he suggested but hadn't fully explained. The silence wasn't just awkward, it was damning. Millions of viewers were left questioning whether Rogan knew more than he was letting on, or whether he had stumbled into a conversation too hot to handle. This isn't just another viral clip. This isn't just another social media moment. This is a pivotal event in Joe Rogan's career. For someone whose brand relies on fearlessness, transparency, and speaking his mind, this moment of hesitation has opened a window into the human side of Rogan, one that is usually shielded by charisma, humor, and confidence. It's a side of him that makes millions rethink the image of the man who always asks the questions, because suddenly he is the one being asked. And here's the thing. Rogan knows how to spin moments. He knows how to pivot conversations. But in this instance, he couldn't. The question was pointed, public, and politically charged. It touched on conspiracy, governmental responsibility, and the potential involvement of one of the most controversial political figures in recent history. For fans and critics alike, the stakes were massive. Every pause, every blink, every hesitated word was dissected frame by frame. People online speculated endlessly. Was Rogan genuinely caught off guard, or was this a calculated silence meant to protect him? What's fascinating is the layers of irony. For years, Rogan has dominated conversations by being fearless, relentless, and uncompromising. He has asked the hardest questions of the richest, most famous, and most powerful people, often leaving them speechless. And now, here he was, facing the very same experience he has given to others, exposed, hesitant, and uncertain. The shift in power dynamics was dramatic. and the internet thrived on it. Clips circulated rapidly, each showing the moment Rogan's confidence wavered. Headlines screamed, social media users debated, fans expressed shock, critics celebrated, memes multiplied like wildfire, and the narrative spread across platforms. Rogan's silence wasn't just about avoiding a question, it symbolized something bigger. It reflected the delicate line between curiosity and controversy, between speculation and accusation. When you deal with topics as explosive as wildfires and government conspiracies, and when you mention political figures like Donald Trump, even the most confident voice can falter. And that is exactly what viewers witnessed. A man known for his dominance in interviews, a man who rarely hesitates, suddenly confronted the unpredictability of the public scrutiny, and he froze. As social media buzzed, the broader question emerged. What does this mean for Joe Rogan's image? The man who once seemed invincible in conversation now appeared human, vulnerable, hesitant, real. Some fans sympathized, praising his honesty and composure under pressure. Others criticized him, claiming he had been caught in a trap of his own making. Conspiracy theorists interpreted his pause as confirmation of hidden truths, while skeptics dismissed the moment as mere theatrics, regardless of perspective. One thing was certain, Joe Rogan's silence had sparked a storm. And so, the conversation continues. Clips circulate, headlines proliferate, and debates rage on. The moment when Joe Rogan went silent has already become a defining episode in his podcasting history. It's a lesson in irony, in the limits of control, and in the unpredictable nature of public scrutiny. The man who questions everyone has finally been questioned. Joe Rogan's silence didn't just happen in a vacuum. The question that caught him off guard was tied to one of the most explosive topics of the year, wildfires. Fires that have ravaged communities, destroyed livelihoods, and caused chaos across states. And then, there was the suggestion, subtle but unmistakable, that government involvement or negligence might have played a role in these disasters. For years, conspiracy theorists have floated theories about controlled burns, funding schemes, or mismanagement by officials. Rogan, known for probing the truth and questioning authority, touched on these sensitive ideas. But unlike his usual episodes, this time the consequences were immediate, personal, and very public. The discussion escalated when Donald Trump's name entered the conversation. Trump, one of the most polarizing figures in modern history, has supporters and detractors in equal measure. Just mentioning him creates waves. Rogan had never shied away from discussing Trump. He often takes a critical lens while still trying to remain open-ended. But on this occasion, Rogan linked his wildfire observations with Trump in a way that instantly made headlines. Was Trump directly involved? Did he know more than he admitted? Was Rogan implying negligence or hidden manipulation? The ambiguity alone was enough to send the internet into a frenzy. Viewers immediately dissected Rogan's every word. Clips of him pausing, tilting his head, and looking unsure circulated across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Comment sections exploded with speculation. Some argued that Rogan had just realized he might have overstepped. Others believed he was strategically silent, knowing the magnitude of the accusations he was implying. The silence itself became a talking point, almost overshadowing the actual content of the conversation. Memes depicting Rogan speechless began trending, while hashtags like #RoganSilent, #WildfireGate, and #TrumpRoganMystery started dominating social feeds. What made this moment especially compelling was a combination of Rogan's public persona and the nature of the question. Rogan is a man who built his career on fearlessness. He has confronted scientists, celebrities, and politicians with questions no one else dared to ask. He thrives on exposing contradictions, pressing for hidden truths, and challenging conventional narratives. And yet, when confronted about a situation that directly implicated him, tying together wildfires, political figures, and government secrecy, he was momentarily paralyzed. For the first time, viewers saw that beneath the confident, outspoken exterior lies a human being who can be caught off guard. The internet quickly realized the stakes. Wildfires are real disasters affecting real people. Any insinuation of negligence or conspiracy taps into deep fears and frustrations. Combining that with Trump, who is a magnet for controversy, created a perfect storm. Rogan, intentionally or not, had opened Pandora's box. Millions began questioning